He is wanting to import votes because he knows if he imports Gazans to Scotland, they'll vote for him. And people like Humza Yousaf are trying to manipulate the democratic process of Scotland because he wants to use it as a ramrod for Scottish independence. I want to do a talk, ladies and gentlemen, about Humza Yousaf, who is the First Minister of Scotland, and about his suggestion that Scotland should receive refugees from Palestine, from Gaza. And I want to explain, ladies and gentlemen, why that is a terrible idea for the United Kingdom. Gaza has for the last 20 odd years been an Islamist state run by an Islamist organization akin to the Taliban known as Hamas. Gaza, dominated by Hamas, has been radicalized by the educational system and by the politics of Hamas. Generations of Gazan children have been raised with a radical understanding of Islam. Gaza has a higher than normal percentage of their population per capita that believe and subscribe to Islamist views and hard radical ideology, which include hardline anti-Semitism, hardline Christophobia, hardline homophobia, a belief that those that become Christians from the Muslim world should be killed. They are pro-slavery. They are pro-taking female sexual slaves, as you saw Hamas do when they attacked Israel. They are pro-child marriage. Gazans have been indoctrinated into this belief because they have lived under Hamas for so many decades. When Humza Yousaf says that Scotland should just receive Gazan refugees, he is using Scotland as his personal fiefdom. He is treating Scotland like his own personal possession. He's doing what's in the best interest of his family and of his own worldview, not what is in his best interests of the people of Scotland. Let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen. The number of crimes being committed by Muslim migrants and Muslim refugees is being covered up by the British media. I give you the example of the MP from Hartlepool who spoke in the House of Commons about a Muslim refugee that murdered one of her constituents, and the British media covered it up. We know, ladies and gentlemen, that it was a Muslim terrorist who tried to kill Hatton Tash in this park, and the British media tried to cover it up. We know, ladies and gentlemen, that right now Sweden is battling and France is battling against radical Islamists in French society. But you don't hear about it in the British media. Muslims know about it because Muslims in France are telling them about what the British state is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, But you're not hearing about it.
Why not?
You're not hearing about it because the British media is covering it up. Muslim politicians like Humza Yousaf, like Sadiq Khan, allow for soft forms of Islamization in our society. Think about Sadiq Khan and the Eid lights that he brought about in London. Muslims don't have a concept of Eid lights. They're imitating the unbeliever. But he wants Islam to be honoured in the same way by our society that Islam is honoured, and so he deliberately copies a Christian custom and a Christian tradition. Humza Yousaf could have offered sanctuary to Christians from northern Nigeria, but he didn't. He could have offered sanctuary to Christians from Syria, but he didn't. He could have offered sanctuary to Christians from South Sudan, but he didn't. Who did he offer sanctuary to? Gazans. And who are the majority of Gazans? Muslims. It is soft Islamization that is happening. He is wanting to import votes because he knows if he imports Gazans to Scotland, they'll vote for him. And people like Humza Yousaf are trying to manipulate the democratic process of Scotland because he wants to use it as a ramrod for Scottish independence. Soft Islamization is occurring in Tower Hamlets, a place where our democracy is not functioning properly, a place where I am hearing of stories that non-halal restaurants are being targeted by the council on health and safety grounds. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm hearing out of Tower Hamlets. Within Tower Hamlets, that Muslim areas are having more council spending spent on them than those areas that are populated by non-Muslims. That's what I'm hearing from people on the ground, from people that live inside Tower Hamlets. Ladies and gentlemen, the liberal media are blind to Islamization because liberals have no concept of civilization. And so they can't see a process of Islamization. We see, ladies and gentlemen, that the Labour Party is vulnerable to Islamization. Recently, Sir Keir Starmer gave a speech that was directed to Muslims, specifically Muslims, just before November the 11th. And what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when a British politician appears in public between the 1st of November and the 11th of November? What are they wearing? Poppies. What was Keir Starmer not wearing when he gave his speech directed to Muslims? A poppy. He took his poppy off because he knows that the image of the poppy would offend Muslim voters. And so he was willing to deny an aspect of British culture to appeal to the Muslim vote. Labour is the entry point to Islamization, ladies and gentlemen. But, ladies and gentlemen, what happened to Sir Keir Starmer when he went to Edinburgh? He was mobbed by Palestinian Muslims and their enablers and supporters because he wouldn't call for a ceasefire against Hamas.
Why did you vote for continued genocide? Starmer, can you not hear? Why did you vote for continued genocide? Starmer, why did you vote for continued genocide? Starmer, you should be in prison.
And he understands that a ceasefire for Hamas will enable Hamas to regroup. Ladies and gentlemen, Labour and the middle classes have heard, ladies and gentlemen, the first chilly grip of the Islamists on their shoulders. Muslims are trying to harangue and harass the Labour Party to side with a terrorist organisation known as Hamas. But the Labour Party, because of their liberal values and doctrines, cannot see the threat of Islamists or of Islamisation. Because to the liberal, there are only good citizens and bad citizens in a contract with the state. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to address my brothers and sisters directly. If you are a Christian, my next statements are to you. The church needs to politicize. The church needs to politicize and draw its politics from its own identity as Christians. We must fight politically for the triumph of the church. Central to our political narrative must be the idea of solidarity amongst Christians, defending Christians against all of their persecutors. We must not borrow from the politics of the left or from the politics of the right. We must build a politics based upon the belief in the apostolic teaching, in the doctrines of the apostles, in the values of the apostles, and seek through politics to make those beliefs and values reality in society. Our politics as Christians falls across the entire political spectrum, because the entire political spectrum emerged out of a Christian milieu. And so our politics must be to gather up the disparate pieces of a Christian political worldview, and through political parties and political campaigning, seek to make that politics a reality. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen, on the topic?
Any questions?
Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Bear with me 1 second. No need for the cameras.